3 weeks. That is how long fans of Sullivan's Crossing have been sitting in silence, refreshing Twitter, refreshing Reddit, waiting for one single sentence from the CW. And a few days ago, that sentence finally showed up. Season 5 is happening. It airs in 2027. And honestly, there's a lot more going on behind this announcement than a simple renewal notice. There's a ratings story here. There's a Netflix story here. And there's a showrunner story here that a lot of casual viewers probably missed completely. So let's actually dig into this properly, because a press release only tells you what happened. It does not tell you why it happened, and it definitely does not tell you what it means for the show going forward. That's what we're doing today. If you're new to this channel, this is where we take entertainment news that gets a 2-line headline everywhere else, and we actually sit with it for a while. No fluff, no filler, just the facts laid out in a way that actually makes sense. So let's get into it. Here's the headline version first, since you probably want that out of the way. The CW has renewed Sullivan's Crossing for a 5th season. That season will run for 10 episodes, matching every season that came before it. Production is set to begin later this summer in Nova Scotia, and the new episodes are expected to premiere sometime in 2027. Now, on the surface, that might not sound like huge news. Shows get renewed all the time. But the timing here is what makes this interesting. Season 4 wrapped up back in June. Canada's CTV had already picked the show up for Season 5 more than a month before this announcement. But the CW, which is the show's home in the United States, stayed completely quiet. No comment, no confirmation, nothing. For 3 full weeks, American fans genuinely did not know if their version of the show was continuing at all. That kind of silence usually means one of two things. Either the network is negotiating quietly behind the scenes, or the numbers are being reviewed before a final call gets made. In this case, it turned out to be the second one. And once you see the actual numbers, you understand exactly why the CW needed a beat to think it over, and why the answer ended up being yes. Let's talk numbers, because this is where the story gets genuinely interesting, and it's the part most outlets buried at the bottom of their articles. Sullivan's Crossing is up 62% in the 18 to 49 demographic. If you don't follow television ratings closely, that number matters more than almost any other one a network looks at. Advertisers care intensely about the 18 to 49 group, because that's considered the most active spending demographic on television. A 62% jump in that category is not a small bump. That's the kind of growth that makes a network sit up. On top of that, the show is up 26% with adults 25 to 54, and total viewership across the board is up 30%. Each episode is now averaging more than 1 million viewers across multiple platforms, and video-on-demand viewership within the first 7 days of an episode airing has climbed by 44%. Put simply, more people are watching, they're watching faster, and they're watching across more platforms than before. That is a textbook case for a renewal. And it explains why the delay wasn't really about hesitation. It was about confirming that the growth was real and not a one-time spike. Now here's the piece that ties everything together, and it's honestly the most fascinating part of this whole story. Sullivan's Crossing has been quietly building an entirely separate audience on Netflix. The first 3 seasons landed on Netflix last summer, and they became a sleeper hit almost immediately. Then, right after the Season 4 finale wrapped up on the CW in late June, that same season dropped on Netflix just 8 days later. It climbed all the way to the number 6 spot on Netflix's global English-language top 10 list, pulling in roughly 3 million views in its very first week in the United States alone. That is what people in the industry sometimes call a ratings halo effect. A show airs modestly on a linear network, but then a huge new audience discovers it on a streaming platform. And that new audience starts circling back to watch it live, or at least closer to live, on the original network. Sullivan's Crossing is a near-perfect example of that pattern playing out in real time. Season 4 was the very first season to get this kind of Netflix exposure while it was still airing weekly on the CW, and the ratings jump lines up almost exactly with that release window. So when you combine the CTV renewal in Canada, the strong linear numbers in the US, and the streaming halo effect from Netflix, the picture becomes pretty clear. This isn't a show being kept alive out of loyalty. This is a show that is actually growing its audience from multiple directions at the same time. All right, now let's get into the part of this story that actually changes the creative direction of the show going forward, because this is bigger than most renewal announcements ever get. Roma Roth, who created Sullivan's Crossing and has run the writer's room for all 4 seasons so far, is stepping down as showrunner and head writer. She isn't leaving the show entirely. She's staying on as an executive producer alongside Robyn Carr, whose novels the series is based on, along with the rest of the production team. But the day-to-day creative control of the show is shifting to someone new. That someone is Floyd Kane, who previously created and ran a 4-season Canadian series called Digstown. He's stepping into the head writer and showrunner role starting with Season 5, which means the voice of the show, the pacing, the dialogue, all of that is going to be shaped by a new creative hand for the first time since the series began. Roth explained the move pretty directly in her statement. She said her goal from the beginning was to build a long-running series that resonates with a global audience, and that she's proud of what the team has built. But she's also stretching herself across more projects right now. She's currently developing a brand new series called Thunderpoint, which is based on a different book series by the same author, Robyn Carr. And on top of that, she's still an executive producer on Virgin River, which is arguably the most successful Robyn Carr adaptation out there right now. So in a way, this isn't Roth abandoning Sullivan's Crossing. It's Roth building out an entire universe of Robyn Carr adaptations and handing off day-to-day control of this particular show so she can focus on expanding that universe. Whether that ends up being a smooth transition for the show's tone and pacing is something we genuinely won't know until Season 5 actually airs. But it's worth watching closely because head writer changes can shift a show's voice more than people expect. Let's rewind to where the story actually left off, because Season 5 has some real material to work with. In the show, Maggie Sullivan is a neurosurgeon who left her career behind and moved back to her hometown of Timberlake, Nova Scotia, to reconnect with her father and figure out what she actually wants out of life. Over the first few seasons, she builds a relationship with a local love interest named Cal, played by Chad Michael Murray. By Season 4, Maggie has recommitted to that relationship and seems to be settling into her new life. Then the finale happens. Maggie's ex-husband, Liam, shows up completely unannounced, and he's not just passing through. He arrives with a piece of information that throws everything into chaos, right at the exact moment Maggie and Cal seem the most stable. The season ends on that cliffhanger, with Cal now questioning whether Maggie can actually leave her past behind, or whether Liam's return is going to pull her right back into it. That's the thread Season 5 is expected to pick up. And honestly, from a storytelling standpoint, it's a smart place to end a season on, because it gives the new writing team under Floyd Kane an immediate, high-stakes relationship conflict to build around from Episode 1. Now here's something worth pausing on, because it's a bigger deal than a lot of coverage gave it credit for. Season 4 was the first season of the show without Scott Patterson, who played Maggie's father, Sully, for the first 3 seasons. Patterson, who's probably best known for playing Luke on Gilmore Girls, left the show due to what he described as creative differences. On screen, the writers handled his absence by explaining that Sully had traveled to Ireland while his partner, Helen, worked on a television project there. It's a clean enough explanation, but it's also a noticeable absence, since Sully was one of the emotional anchors of the show's earlier seasons. Patterson has spoken about the exit publicly, saying he pushed hard for Sully's voice and his character to be represented properly, and that the departure was an easy one for him. There's been no indication that he's returning for Season 5, so it looks like the show is moving forward with Sully remaining off-screen for now. The rest of the main cast is expected to stick around, though. Morgan Cohen as Maggie, Chad Michael Murray as Cal, along with Tom Jackson and Andrea Menard, are all expected to return, so the core of the show fans have followed for 4 seasons should still be intact. Zooming out for a second, this renewal is actually a pretty good case study in how television works in 2026. It's not just about weekly ratings anymore, and it hasn't been for a while. A network now has to weigh live viewership, video-on-demand numbers, and streaming performance on a completely separate platform, all before making a single decision. Sullivan's Crossing checked every one of those boxes at once. Strong demo growth on linear TV, a jump in on-demand viewing, and a streaming afterlife on Netflix that's actively pulling in brand new viewers. That combination is exactly what keeps a mid-sized drama alive in this environment, even one that isn't dominating headlines the way a massive streaming original might. And there's a bigger pattern forming here, too. Robyn Carr's books are turning into an entire television ecosystem. Virgin River already proved that her small-town romance formula works at a massive scale. Sullivan's Crossing is proving it works on a network model with a streaming boost. And now Thunderpoint is coming to test that same formula a third time. If that show also lands, you're looking at a genuine shared universe of Robyn Carr adaptations, each one built around a different small town, a different lead character, but the exact same emotional formula underneath. To wrap this up, Sullivan's Crossing is officially coming back for a 5th season in 2027. It's got real ratings growth behind it, a genuine streaming boost from Netflix, a new showrunner taking over the writer's room, and a cliffhanger involving Maggie's ex-husband that's going to shape everything the new season builds around. Filming starts later this summer in Nova Scotia, and there's no premiere date yet, but given the yearly release pattern the show has kept up so far, a return sometime in the first half of 2027 feels like the safe bet. If you want to stay ahead of every update on this one, subscribe, because I'll be covering the casting news, the premiere date, and the first trailer the moment any of it drops. Let me know in the comments what you think happens with Maggie, Cal, and Liam once Season 5 actually starts. I'll see you in the next one.